Welcome to 28 Days and Beyond.
The show where we talk about our history, our heritage, and our culture.
I'm Amari.
I'm Kharisma. Welcome back.
Yes, yes.
How are you?
I'm all right. What about you?
Yeah. I'm still processing a lot.
All right.
Okay, so recently, there was a 6-part docuseries focused on R. Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
And
Was that last month?
Yeah, it spoke to a number of people, a number of women that were victimized by him when they were teenagers.
Yeah.
And, you know, I went through the series, I watched the entire thing, and I just remember having this visceral reaction to it. And it's not because the allegations were anything new, but for me, because the series was broken down into different pieces, in between waiting for the next part to go on, you know, on social media, looking at what different people were saying, and it just really bothered me how many people were still defending R. Kelly after seeing blatant proof of him being a sexual predator and being a sexual predator that preyed on children.
Yep.
It's disgusting. And I just, I'm having a hard time processing all of that because there's nothing in my mind that allows me to understand how you could still come to the defense of someone who has violated so many children, a person who went to malls and high schools looking for young girls to bring back to his studio or wherever, his lair, to sexually assault.
But what about the music? What about the music?
What about the music, first of all? Because we keep it real here on 28 Days and Beyond. All these people are like, R. Kelly is a genius. No, he's not. He did songs like Feeling on Your Booty, and like, there's nothing musically genius about that.
Right.
I Believe I Can Fly, okay. It was on Space Jam, and that's where I'm at.
You know, but I think that's really part of a larger phenomenon with regards to a number of things, right? Patriarchy, sexism, pedophilia, all of these sort of things are clearly at play.
Yeah.
But also more specifically to our community, we be giving celebrities passes.
We do. Yeah. It's like if we appreciate anything that they produce in whatever art form it is, they're allowed to do whatever. And it's like, where is the accountability? Like, really, where is it?
What would be accountability in this instance?
Him being in jail indefinitely at this point.
Yeah.
But our guest today, Antoine Johnson, is going to talk to us about these passes that the Black community so often gives to people that don't deserve it. So we'll be back with more 28 Days and Beyond right after this.
Welcome back to 28 Days, and we are joined by Antoine Johnson.
Antoine Johnson.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Hi.
I love this set. Very African-ish.
It is.
And the pillows, those pillows are everything.
I love it.
I do too.
So right before the break, we were talking about the pass that we often give to celebrities in the Black community, and specifically talking about R. Kelly, given, you know, this docuseries that recently came to the light. So what are your thoughts on how beloved figures in the African American community are treated when they do deplorable things?
I think there's a long-standing history of that, but I also think that culturally, our young children, as you see visuals in Africa, their dance move and their body flow kind of makes Americans fetishize Black young girls, right? This specific instance with R. Kelly is a complete and utter example of how within our own community of entertainment, because someone's made it, we have to protect them at all cost. And it's so unfair to these women, these children who have been abused. And I think it's not just his responsibility, but it's also management, publicists, other producers, people who knew what was going on. I think that's part of their responsibility, especially working in entertainment.
Absolutely.
And then top that off the parents, because at some point, if you take hush money, knowing that your child has been abused, sexually assaulted, you're just as guilty, actually worse, you're nasty, but it is what it is, right?
Well, that was one of the things that bothered me. I mean, there were so many things that bothered me with the docuseries, but even I think after part one, Aaliyah's mother came forward and said that, you know, all of it was lies, all of it was fabrication, and how dare we slander her daughter's memory. And it's like, there was a document that was forged when R. Kelly married your daughter when she was 15 years old.
Right.
So why, after all this time, are you still saying that it didn't happen? And like, what does that do?
So we all work in entertainment, right? And
Yeah.
we all know that there are some contracts to keep people silent.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of clauses for that. NBA players, NFL players do the same thing to keep their mistresses quiet and silent. But there's a thing where you can't fight someone who's on top. No one's gonna believe you, and I think that's what's happened in this situation. And oftentimes we just give those successful black people a pass, and I think it's completely unfair.
But I also think it's a matter of, nobody really cares. I think nobody cares about black girls. Nobody cares about, because if these were white girls, this would be a completely different situation.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's also an unfair statement too, because it's happened with white girls, and the Me Too movement came out of that.
Right, and there's
the
been a whole bunch of accountability
right
via the Me Too movement.
But
Absolutely.
also with the Me Too movement, the people that came forward initially were of age. If I'm remembering correctly.
But those are the variables. Yeah, absolutely. Those were the variables. Well, we can take the Penn State scandal, for example. Those kids were underage during the camps when the whole...
Well, he was fired, right?
Well, but even that, though, because now you're talking about...
We're talking about people who covered up the same way people covered R. Kelly.
Up, right? I mean,
Right.
because we can talk about the Catholic Church the same way that these are... We can talk about the entertainment industry writ large. When I was in junior high, Britney Spears came out.
Absolutely.
Right? Oh, baby, baby, right? You remember the video for that?
Of course we do.
Yeah.
She was wearing that Catholic school uniform. Now, I was a child myself, looking back, right? There was an old man who said, what we're gonna do is we're gonna dress you as a child. So really, pedophilia is part and parcel of American culture, right?
Isn't that from the top down?
And sexualizing young people.
I mean, you talk about
from the top down.
The great American love story of John Smith and Pocahontas, right? Well, Pocahontas was
A child.
How old was she?
13 years old.
She was
right?
13.
So all of that is part and parcel of American society. The issue is when black people do it with black girls, nobody in society cares about it, right? Because we do not care about black girls.
But how much of that do you think enabled R. Kelly to do this?
Well, so much of it.
Obviously,
and
everything.
Everything. So I want you to hold that thought.
Sure.
We have to take a little bit of
Yeah,
a
yeah,
break,
please, let's
but
do
we'll
it.
be back with more 28 Days and Beyond right after this. Welcome back to 28 Days and Beyond. So Antoine, right before the break, we were talking about, how this whole system of pedophilia and sexualizing young girls in particular, it's trickled down. How can we get to a point, if we're talking specifically about black girls, young black girls, how can we get to a point where we're not doing what we've seen so much throughout history, which is basically putting the ownership of young girls being violated by older men that have predatory behavior on these young people? How do we get to a point where we're not doing that? We're not just going with the flow and letting these things continue to happen.
Accountability is the first thing. Parents have to be accountable for their kids. That's number one, right? And the people who work with these celebrities, you must be accountable for the people that you work for. And at the end of the day, it's not just about young girls being sexually assaulted. It's about celebrity parents being disrespectful to their children in public, i.e. Kevin Hart. It's another person, and we give them passes. We can't give these people passes. How can we bring up our community if you're tearing them down in your own home?
Well, we say accountability. But what exactly does accountability look like?
In what capacity?
I know what it looks like for R. Kelly.
I mean, for R. Kelly, yes. Should he be in jail for the things that have been said, done, and proved? Yes. However, this is where people will argue with me. You can't use these videos to now prosecute this man.
Why not?
It's just...
Well,
I struggle with that.
Based on the series, there's still girls that are currently in captivity, and I'm using that word because that's what it is.
Yeah. No,
so the people
and those
that
are the people
still
that can get justice for the others. You know what I mean?
But you see, all right.
Someone has to
I want
take
to
him
ask
down.
about that, because even like this concept of justice, sending somebody to jail is not justice, right? ultimately, like when we say things like, oh, this person did this and they need to go to jail or they need to lose their job, but that's an individual person who's part of a larger system that is upholding
Absolutely.
it. And it's easy to sacrifice an individual and be like, oh, word, Kevin Spacey, we're canceling your show, right? Oh, we're silencing, Bill Cosby. Oh, how dare you do such a thing, right? But that is not undermining the system of oppression that is enabling these things to happen, because it's not like women aren't going to be sequestered in anymore, right? So what I'm saying is, like, accountability is like, it has to be to a greater extent than just simply, oh, this person needs to pay for what they've done.
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, I think in terms of accountability, the other thing that we have to think about, because it's such a large problem, because it's something that's been happening so long and being allowed to get as far as it has, the only way that we can start implementing accountability is to go case by case basis. When you have these people that are on the forefront, that have these huge platforms, that have visibility, when those people are punished, maybe it'll affect some of these other people. But I mean, the fact that with R. Kelly's trial, one of the girls that he ended up violating, he picked up during his trial for child pornography. Like, it's insane, and nothing has happened. So that too has set a precedent.
Absolutely.
If a person is allowed to be a monster for all of these years, and all of us have known about it long before
But
this.
these monsters make money for the people who protect them.
Right.
And at the end of the day, every scandal that he's in, someone else is getting paid more money to cover it up and or make a story.
Like we see the fact that his album sales have gone up.
Right.
Since the end
And
of
I
the
get
show.
that, because a lot of the kids that are now millennials and younger are going back to R. Kelly's archives because they don't know who he really is. They just know of some of his music. So when Jada Pinkett Smith is on television saying, why are his sales going up? Why are there more downloads, more streaming? Because those people don't know the story, you know? Seem like you're ready. Come on, like,
Age ain't nothing but a number.
you're literally playing out your fantasies on the radio,
Right.
and you're getting a pass.
Oh, yeah.
But at the time, at least I was young, but I didn't know it was about what he was doing until I became an adult.
Right.
So the songs were cool, but now looking back, you're like, I participated in his scandal,
Yeah.
not knowing. So if I was fooled at a young age, how many parents were fooled just thinking it was good music?
Right.
So, and if you don't talk to your kids, this is a result. And a lot of times, a lot of black parents don't talk to their kids about how was your day.
Right.
Sitting down to dinner with your family is not a thing anymore. So how are you supposed to know what your kids are doing? So there's more accountability right there.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we have to find better ways to protect our girls and our boys too, because it's happening to young boys as well. Oh gosh, there's so much more that I want to talk about, but we ran out of time.
I'm sorry.
But thank you so much, Antoine, for joining us and for offering us your
I'll
perspective.
have to come back sometime.
Please
Did y'all
do.
get the shoes on the shoe cam? Jeez. I like that purple. Very, very noble color purple.
That's what's up,
It's like
man.
royalty.
There you.
Thank you again for joining us, Antoine. We'll be back with more 28 Days and Beyond right after this. Welcome back to 28 Days and Beyond. Amari,
Yeah.
it's just so much to unpack even
Word.
from that conversation. I'm so angry still just thinking about it that, yeah.
You
I'm
know,
at a
we
loss.
really haven't I don't even think we have enough time in the season
We
to
don't.
get down to the bottom of, why this past exists. Because I'm thinking about things like whether it be, this, right? Or even going back, Tammy Terrell, right? You sing with Marvin Gaye.
Yep.
And David Ruffin used to beat her. She was with James Brown for a while. He beat her,
Yeah, he
right?
was
And it's
very
like, okay,
abusive.
well, that means the Temptations, right? All the music of James Brown, Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
So there are countless examples of it. That's not something that we like to sort of highlight in people's legacies or whatever have you.
Yeah, and I think to Antoine's point, because we talk so much about struggle and we talk so much about, just our existence in this country constantly, with us trying to play catch up in a lot of instances, that, when people do get to the point where they've made it, when they get to the point where, they're a recognizable face, a recognizable name, and we appreciate their art form, it's almost like anything else that they do outside of whatever that art is that we appreciate becomes null and void, and it's not.
Yeah, so you don't think you
It's
can
not.
separate the two?
I don't think you can separate the two.
I mean, in the instance of R. Kelly, like he was explicitly saying what he was doing.
In
so there
his
was
music,
no, for him, there was
there
no
was
separation.
no separation.
Right? Exactly.
Absolutely
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah.
So it's like, how can you separate? Like, this is how I look at it. There's no way I would be able to knowingly support a pedophile because I may have liked a music, like a piece of their music or a song that they've done. Like, because if I'm purchasing their music, if I'm going to their concerts, if I'm giving my attention and my energy to them, I'm giving them additional resources to continue to do the things that they're doing.
Yeah.
So how can you do that and live with yourself? And why is the life of a child or a teenager not more valuable than a song? Like, there are millions of songs out here. Like, pick another one.
All right, so let me end with a question.
Okay.
Some point last month, your friend, Kanye West,
My friend.
he came out with this
My
thing where he
friend.
was like, yo, if we're going to do this, because they're talking about making a documentary on Michael Jackson, he said, well, then why don't we take down all the art? Any artist who was ever associated with some sort of wrongdoing, why don't we just erase all of their art? He starts mentioning Da Vinci and all of these other people. What do you think of that?
I think that in specific instances where we know for a fact that a person has done horrible things, not it's questionable, but when we know, like, there is proof that we should not continue to support them.
Gotcha.
If that means take all of their art down, then by all means, yes, do it. Now, cases where we don't really know, there's questions, let's dig deeper and find out and then make the decision from there. But I can't live with supporting people that I know for a fact have violated children. Like, innocence, the innocence of childhood is something that should be respected. And we have to find better ways to protect our kids. We have to. It's essential. So.
This has been another episode of 28 Days and Beyond,
where we talk about our history, our heritage, and our culture. We'll see you next time.